quick way to get unstuck. Really, really quick way. Very simple way to get unstuck. And I want to sort of do this seriatim, like where the challenges can be and then move through to a possible solution, imagining a world of that solution. So I want to start out with this, and I think this is something we all know. Like, life is suffering. There's nothing about the Christian life that would say life does not have suffering and struggle in it. I mean, again, you look at the Easter story, it's sort of the epitome of struggle. And if God has to go through those struggles, we're going to go through those struggles, granted at a very different level, but we'll go through struggles as well. Like, there's no promise of the stress-free future in this spiritual endeavor at all. There's just a promise of a different perspective on those stresses. So let's start with that. Like, suffering is really real. So what do we do about it? Well, we acknowledge it. We acknowledge that there is suffering in the world. There's suffering in our lives. Times are tough. We want to be really clear about that. And no doubt many of you watching this today, have a big struggle that you're working with. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there are many. If we all shared them, we'd all have struggles big and small. And that's part of life. And the question again isn't how do we sort of avoid the storm? When we're in the storm, it's how do we navigate it? So it starts with that acknowledgement. So life is suffering. Life is hard. Life has beauty in it. Life has broken parts to it, and we share both of those things. We have to, number one, start with simply acknowledging that there is suffering, and that's just an important first step. And please, friends, remember this as well. And this is something I've actually seen a fair amount, and it's really difficult for people, which is when you're with others who are suffering, remember, acknowledge their suffering as well. Like, simply acknowledge it is a really important first step. But we don't want to stay there. So much of life we can get stuck into kind of these victim mentalities. And I think it's one of the hardest things to be in when people get stuck in victim mentalities. It's why I'm not a huge fan all the time. I mean, I've seen some wonderful therapists. And frankly, I've seen some therapists who just kind of allow people to just kind of spin out in this constant victimization, acknowledging every thought and every opinion they have. And that's not the way to get out of it, unfortunately. Our head is not our friend. Our head will make up stories all the time that will just keep us victimized. Now, here's a passage from the book Secrets of Heaven 570 that talks about it. As long as we cling to our adopted principles and persuasions, we force everything into agreement and harmony with them. And I sort of look at like stuffing a suitcase. We get a suitcase and we're going to fit in all our opinions, all our stuff. We're going to take everything else. We're going to fit it into our box. We're going to make it work for us. And it goes on to say, the more we dote on ourselves, the more rigidly we stick by those ideas. In other words, the more we really, really are into the racket of like, I'm right, I understand this completely, other people don't, other people are dumber than I am, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It puts us up here, puts us down here. Now, it will feel like it's working because we've sort of have gained the higher ground. We've gained the higher perspective. But that's not the way to get out of suffering, friends. Like, and especially the victim mentality. The victim mentality can be fed by, look, I struggle more than anyone else. Everyone else is having it easy, but I have unique struggles no one else has ever imagined. And we can just play that in a loop and go back and forth and back and forth. And in a weird way, it can be sort of something that puts us in this suffering place. It's above others. Nora McInerney phrased it really well. She called it the grief Olympics. She had lost her husband and her father within a couple of weeks, and she said people will play the grief Olympics in this weird way where it's like she would talk about her suffering, and they're like, I suffered even more, and da-da-da. That doesn't work. And you can see where that can feed the victim mentality because we sort of become the heroic victim. We become both the hero and the victim in our own story, and not much agency in that. Again, you'll get pity for a bit, and you'll get some people sort of patting you on the back, but it's not a long-term way to live at all. So we have to break out of that. And how do we break out of it? Like, it sounds so big, and like, I'm suffering. I know that I can be prone to kind of the victim woe is me stuff. I think we're all prone to that. The self-pity thing, which is no good. How do we get out of it? Here's just a simple one. Like, the answer is embedded within that, where it says we dote on ourselves. So obviously the flip is to not dote on ourselves. And how do we do that in a simple way? I think we probably all remember our parents, or hopefully remember our parents telling us sometime, do something for someone else. That'll get you out of your bad place. Very, very good advice. Very, very true. And it's a little too global for today. So let's go to something more specific. So let's trace through. I find myself suffering a lot today. And I have to go to the point where I realize, like, am I sort of starting to move into kind of a victim mentality, self-pity thing? I have to be really aware of that. I have to be aware of the mental racket that I have around it. And I have to acknowledge that, yeah, there is suffering here. There's suffering, and I have to acknowledge, that I might be putting something around it that's not terribly healthy. So once we do that, once we acknowledge it, and we acknowledge the other thoughts that we're entertaining with it, acknowledge that as well too. And that's, again, not a punitive thing. It's just acknowledging this is what I'm noticing is going on. Then what we can do is write one letter of gratitude. That simple. Send someone a note of gratitude. You can text it, you can email it, you can write it, anything like that you can do. And find someone. Maybe it's your 6th grade teacher. I don't know. But find someone where you can write a note of thanks to. And that is what starts to pull us out of suffering. Because I think you can see, like, instead of it all being bent in towards all the problems of life, when we write a letter of gratitude, it starts to bend us out towards all the blessings of life. And that's a much healthier place to be. And it's not saying this doesn't exist. It's not saying suffering's not real or we're not suffering today. And sometimes when we're suffering, the best we can do is just tread water. The best we can do is just, like, get up and get a shower. Some days are like that. Totally get that. But as we really want to move through it, if we're really ready to kind of start to move forward, which may take some time, granted, but if we're really, really move through it, I find few things as helpful as just simply writing a letter of gratitude. So that's my 2 cents to everyone today is, write that letter, take that step, reach out to that person if you find yourself suffering, and watch how it shifts. And again, with the caveat here is some of you may be dealing with a traumatic event, a recent traumatic event, and you're in no place to do that. Totally get that. But when you do find yourself in a place to get that, take that step, because it really does start to make a difference. It starts to shift this and all the self-pity that goes with this into this outwardness, and all the compassion and gratitude that goes with that. Looking in, looking out. We've looked in for a while. After a while, we have to start going back to the discipline of looking out. So that's the thought for today, friends. I hope that makes a lot of sense. And what we're going to do now is, now here at New Church Live, we shift gears. And when we shift gears here at church, what we do is we do a little meditation from the Old Testament, prayer from the New Testament, a little blessing from the Old Testament, and then we say hi to many of our friends who've joined us on Facebook. I will say that we have had people comment on our YouTube channel. Please feel free to do that as well, and we will answer those in due course. All right, dear friends, let's get going here. So first step, let's just get a little breath. And a meditation. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's get a quick little look here and see if anybody has left any comments today. And again, I hope you're Doing all right in this crazy heat today. Crazy, crazy heat. Patty, good morning to you, my dear friend. Great to see you joining us today. All right, let's flip on over to here. All right. Linda, good morning to you. And Rita, good morning to you, my friends. All right. All you dear, wonderful people, just wishing you all the very best. God